Well, it's the biggest story on Capitol Hill. George Santos expelled from Congress.
And now attention turns to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who's expecting to announce a special election to fill the vacant seat.
Let's bring in House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Republican Conference Chairwoman Elise Stefanik. Thank you both for being here.
Good morning.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
We'd love to cover a range of topics, but let's start what happened on the floor yesterday. The vote on George Santos. First of all, was that a vote you could control, meaning whether it came to the floor or not? And both of you voted against expelling him. What do you make of the outcome?
Yeah, we couldn't block it. It was a privilege resolution, which means it gets to come to the floor within 2 days of filing. And it was a regrettable day. You know, prior to yesterday, only 5 people had ever been expelled from Congress. 3 were Confederates, 2 were convicted of federal charges. And George Santos has not been convicted in a court. You know, our party believes in the rule of law and due process, and we're deeply concerned about preserving those things. And, you know, maybe he will be convicted by a jury of his peers, but that hadn't happened yet, and that's why we had reservations about it.
I know that both of you did not vote to expel Santos. To the best of your knowledge and understanding your colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle, why? Why did so many vote to oust Santos in violation of historical precedent and seemingly due process, and, by the way, equal application to others who have accusations and charges in some cases against them, but not convictions?
You know, I think many of our colleagues looked at the Ethics Committee report and had concerns that this is not befitting of a member of Congress. Again, my concern was that the lack of due process, and it's a very slippery slope when this type of precedent is set. However, the House worked its will. We are committed to making sure that we hold this seat. The special election will likely be in February or March. And, Will, it's important to remember, when we had local elections, we saw a red wave on Long Island at the local level. So we're very optimistic that we will have a strong candidate to join our Republican majority in February or March.
So, Speaker, you couldn't stop this vote. It was what we call a privilege resolution. But you're the new Speaker. I know you probably don't like that you have less of a majority now. You're going to have 3 seats, right? So why couldn't you, even just as a team leader, I'm not trying to dump on you, but I mean, You're the captain, to go, come on, team, we need that extra vote. And all the reasons that you gave before, but if not just for the sheer raw politics, because they don't care about it on the other side. They've got Eric Swalwell, who's, you know, slept with Chinese spies, and they have, you know, Menendez in the Senate with gold bars in his closet.
Yeah, a lot of the members felt very passionate about this when we allowed them to have a vote of conscience. I felt like that was important. There were some members on the other side making a rule of law argument in favor of expelling, because they said what was different about Santos is he was alleged to have committed crimes against the institution itself, and that's why they felt like this made it a different thing. We had very impassioned views on both sides of that, and you know, we let our views be known to the members, but we allowed them to do what they did. You're right, we're down to a 3-vote margin. It's a difficult thing to govern under those circumstances, but we're optimistic about where we're headed. This team is together. We're pulling together. We've got big things ahead of us, but I'm bullish on the future of this.
All right, let's get to another topic that will require holding the entire Republican conference together as well, and that would be the concept of actually formally declaring an impeachment inquiry.
Yes.
Thus far, it has been just that, an inquiry. Based on what's been found, do you, as the Speaker, with that power, plan on bringing an actual vote on impeachment?
It's become a necessary step. Elise and I both served on the impeachment defense team of Donald Trump twice when the Democrats used it for brazen partisan political purposes. We decried that use of it. This is very different. Remember, we are the rule of law team. We have to do it very methodically. Our 3 committees of jurisdiction, Judiciary, Oversight, Ways and Means, have been doing an extraordinary job following the evidence where it leads, but now we're being stonewalled by the White House because they're preventing at least 2 to 3 DOJ witnesses from coming forward, a former White House counsel. The National Archives, the White House has withheld thousands of pages of evidence. So a formal impeachment inquiry vote on the floor will allow us to take it to the next necessary step, and I think it's something we have to do at this juncture.
Congresswoman, help me understand something about the impeachment process and the proposal to depose Hunter Biden. I think it's something that the American people would love to see happen and actually love to see take place. That's what Hunter Biden says he wants as well, to have this take place open and in the public. But there is some desire among Republicans to at least start the process behind closed doors. Why?
It is important to get a deposition. A deposition is very different than an open hearing. For the viewers across America, an open hearing is 5 minutes on the Democrat side, 5 minutes on the Republican side. It becomes a very public press opportunity for the Democrats to politicize. We want to go at this from a legal and factual perspective, and the only way to get that is through a deposition. And I will remind you, Will, this is what Democrats said when they refused to allow just an open hearing. When they made their argument, they want a deposition. So now they're trying to make the counter argument, but they are on record saying that witness should have a deposition. So it is unacceptable that Hunter Biden's attorney said he just wants to do an open hearing. The only correct response to the subpoena is a deposition.
That's a really good thing. I'm glad you explained that to us. Trey Gowdy's talked about that in an open hearing, it can turn into a publicity event for every single individual congressman or congresswoman from either side. You want this to go like a prosecution. You want the ability to cross-examine.
And Will, it's the precedent, remember, for the J6 committee investigations, for the impeachments of Donald Trump. Every investigation of Congress in the modern era, the deposition has come first and the public testimony follows. Why would we break that precedent now?
I'm really grateful to you for having, promised to continue to release those J6 tapes. Some of the tapes that have come out seem to exonerate some of the, people who are languishing in jail or being persecuted, frankly, by the FBI. What will happen now? These tapes are out. Some of this is contradicting what that committee, that very biased committee, had said. They didn't want to see all the evidence. So then what? What about those people who are just exercising their right and are now being pursued by the FBI?
Yeah, it's a great point. Listen, the reason we release those tapes is because the American people deserve to know the truth. We're for transparency, and Democrats ran around with their hair on fire screaming that this would be the end of the republic. It's the exact opposite. We can trust the American people with the facts, let them draw their own conclusions. I think some of those people have been denied due process, and we're exploring avenues on that to assist. There's also a number of members that now want to investigate the J6 committee itself for how they might have hidden some of this. We'll see. We're working through all that methodically. I think at the end of the day, the idea is to get the facts to the people and let them decide, and not have partisan politicians trying to present, their version of things that happened. That doesn't serve the country.
And I want to say the Republican conference, the Republican members are very proud of the speaker who released the tapes in the first few weeks of his speakership.
Amen to that. I was very impressed with that as well.
Well, we've got a few more questions for you. Would you stick around while we pay some bills here?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Speaker Johnson and GOP Conference Chair Stefanik are sticking with us. Don't move a muscle. We'll be back.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.